Today, forget early access, now games come out in secret beta. This is CheckPoint. Welcome to the final pre-launch trailer for CheckPoint.
Wait, we haven't officially launched yet?
Nah, we're going for an elongated early access period.
And then?
Then we cancel and start working on the sequel. MultiVersus, the Smash Brothers-inspired cartoon brawler that features characters from disparate IP universes like Looney Tunes, Steven Universe, and Rick and Morty, has announced it is bringing its open beta to an end on June 25th. And if you just said, beta, I thought it was just out, then you're in agreement with the game's user base, which was very surprised to hear that after it shuts down on June 25th, it won't be coming back until 2024. According to the statement and FAQ released by developer Player First Games, this, quote, temporary closure will allow everyone involved in development to focus on what needs to be done to provide the best experience for players. Reaction has been very negative, and many people are speculating this is simply an excuse to shut down the game entirely, as MultiVersus's daily player count has dwindled from tens of millions in September 2022 to just over 1,300 in February 2023. And although the statement assures players the game is returning, the long, vague timeline hasn't given people much confidence. A poll of Eurogamer readers currently shows that 78% of the site's viewers think the game will stay offline permanently, which sucks because people spent real money, and according to Player First, not realizing this game was in beta isn't a good enough reason to get your money back, as, quote, refunds are not available as a result of the open beta closure. You know, back in my day, if I had enough money to buy a cosmetic, I was going to be able to wear that cosmetic for years and years. Maybe even pass that cosmetic down to my daughter so she could equip it too. You're already charging real money for something that doesn't exist. To reveal that people were actually only renting these things for 10 months? Ridiculous.
After years of being denied access to all of the seediest bars and arcades, Donkey Kong will finally be able to play his own game in comfort. The Strong National Museum of Play is constructing a Donkey Kong arcade cabinet 370% bigger than the original, meaning it will stand over 6 meters tall. Here's the artist rendering, including a low-poly human in the foreground, staring up at the behemoth, imagining how hot Pauline's gonna look now that she's life-size. While this does drag me back to my own misspent youth in the aforementioned CD arcades, I do have a tiny quibble. It's not a one-to-one replica. They've cut off the bottom third of the cabinet, so it's a little misshapen. However, they are building it out of MDF, so like every other arcade cabinet, it will weigh a figurative ton when it's done. And out of deference to the Diddy and Dixie Kongs of the world, Strong Museum is making a smaller joystick panel available nearer to the ground, so you'll be able to play it for real without having to scale it like a cement factory. As for the Funky Kongs, well, he's still laid out in back of the surf shop, smoking banana peels and spinning up theories about how his buddy DK used to be Popeye. I'd ignore him.
Y'all want to hear about some geopolitics? Sure you do, that's why you watch CheckPoint for the international intrigue. Russian publication Kommersant has uncovered some interesting information about Nintendo's operations, or supposed lack thereof, in Russia since the invasion of Ukraine. Of course, Kommersant is based in Russia, as I said, so they're calling it a special military action. But they do mention that a whole lot of companies stopped doing business in Russia ever since that special military action began. Among them, Nintendo. Yes, Nintendo shut down the eShop in Russia and stopped importing physical games into the country. But then Russia passed this hilarious law allowing the import of goods without approval of the rights holder, which meant anyone could just go about acquiring physical copies of Nintendo games from other countries and selling them in Russia. Like Achivka, which translates to Achievement, a recently founded company that has began importing Switch titles like the Metroid Prime remake. Is that weird? Not really. The weird part is that 10% of the company is owned by the corporate events manager of Nintendo Russia. The weirder part is that 80% is owned by the CEO of Nintendo Russia. Also, Achivka's corporate address is literally the address of the Nintendo Russia offices. And the CEO is still the CEO of Nintendo Russia. They didn't dissolve their Russian branch just because they stopped selling stuff in the country, and rampant allegations back in 2018 of what an abusive shithead the guy is didn't seem to get him fired, so I guess he's set for life. What Commerçant hasn't been able to determine is if Achivka is getting the same wholesale dealer rates Nintendo Russia would have gotten for importing these games, or if they're just another one of the many video game importers and this one just happens to be mostly owned by a walking conflict of interest. Nintendo's Russian offices have not responded for comment, and neither have their European offices, probably because they're too busy on conference calls going, "He's doing what?"
A Metroid Prime developer is not unreasonably irritated that many of his colleagues who worked on the original game aren't credited in the newly released remaster. Co-technical lead engineer Jack Matthews dove into the topic on an episode of the Kiwi Talks podcast, noting that everything in the remaster is based around original work from the original game, and since those original ideas came from people, those people should be in the credits. He theorized that this could be because Nintendo's recent attitude towards credits has been to credit staff who were in the seats when the current game was made, but that it's a little weird that Zelda Skyward Sword got a set of original staff credits when Metroid Prime Remastered did not. Matthews also thought that it could be because most of the original Skyward Sword team may still work at Nintendo, or that perhaps their producer, quote, actually stood up for their team. This is an old story in the industry. Recently, the Mario Brothers movie featured the DK rap from Donkey Kong 64, and its composer Grant Kirkhope waited until the credits to see if he was credited for writing it, tweeting, "I was really looking forward to see my name in the credits for the DK rap, but alas, as expected, it's not there." How heartbreaking is that? I never played DK 64, I couldn't sing you the lyrics to the DK rap, but holy shit, alas, as expected? That's how it is for industry professionals. Credit is just something you hope you get and aren't surprised when you don't. This isn't an ego trip either. This is about livelihoods. When people don't get credited for their work, eventually they have no way to prove they worked on things, making it harder for them to move up in the industry, fight for higher pay, or even get a job in the first place. Do you know how endemic this is? The International Game Developers Association, or IGDA, has created a Game Credits Special Interest Group, and they've drafted a series of policies to help studios credit everyone who works on a project. They also have a very readable one-sheet that gathers the guidelines together for executive digestion. They've even created toolkits for Unity and Unreal, available on GitHub, and include design documentation and sample CSVs. I'll be honest, I have no fucking clue how any of this is going to work, but if you're a dev, I bet you do, so go download them and jack them into your project. Don't tell your boss, and take more snacks from the lunchroom while you're at it. Look, when you watch a thing, or read a thing, or play a game, or like look at a building or a bicycle, you know people built that, right? Even the words I'm speaking right now, I strung them together into this sentence, and then I changed some of them before I ended up reading them out to you on this show. And something all of us people love is to be acknowledged for our work. I mean, you don't even have to tell me it's good. Just know that I made it. That's good enough for me. Also, the money. Thank you for paying me, directly or indirectly, just as long as I got paid. And also the credit. The money and the notoriety, those two things. Also, the fame is nice too. The undying admiration of millions of people, most of whom I may never meet, just knowing that I am beloved and rich. And also that I wrote these words so that someday you can pass them on to your children. And your parents. Unless they're assholes to you, in which case, fuck them. Keep my words out of their ears. They don't deserve them.
You're rich?
You're not?
I co-own the company.
I handle the payroll.
Ah.
Coming up, Microsoft is releasing a new special edition, sustainable Xbox wireless controller that's made of 1/3 recycled plastic for Earth Day, which means it's 66% new material. How eco-friendly.
Not crediting for the DK rap is so weird, because that wouldn't be allowed to happen if Nintendo wasn't making the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm pretty sure it was maybe not. I'm thinking of Scott Pilgrim, but there's other movies. There was another movie where someone was humming the Super Mario Brothers theme song.
Yeah.
And in the credits, it was like They just like hummed it, and in the credits it's like Super Mario Brothers theme song by Kenji Kondo.
Yeah, yeah.
Koji Kondo, pardon me. And you know, it's like the
DK rap literally only got credited as from Donkey Kong 64, and that was it. Like, it's like they mentioned even the game that it came from, and I'm like, so you knew that, you put it in the thing. And I think half the time, actually no, I'm going to be even more generous. I assume that 90% of the time the reason why people don't get credited is because somewhere along the chain of making sure that the name makes it into the list of people who worked in the thing, somebody somewhere just doesn't talk to somebody else, or doesn't say, hey, don't forget to put your name on a list, or, you know, those kind of ideas. And that's the whole point of IGDA's thing, is they're like, we're going to make a series of guidelines and policies and automated methods and stuff so that people who are making contributions will have an easier time of making sure their stuff shows up properly. You know, like writing a library that basically collects everybody's... It's kind of like, you know, auto-generating a changelog almost. You know what people did. I was
reading that article, the Metroid credits article on Nintendo Life, I think it was, and God, the comment section, I mean, I shouldn't have read it, but sometimes the comment section has interesting angles that are potentially relevant for the stories that we write.
Also funny. So,
but like, you know, there's people being like, well, they got paid, they didn't work on this version of the game, why should they get credited? And it's like, because the levels are exactly the same.
Yeah.
So the level designer's work is one for one absolutely in this game. The graphical artists had their work in some cases literally traced.
Yes.
So they did the work.
Yeah.
The like
sound design and music is going to be all very much the same. You're making an arrangement of a previous thing.
The mechanics, the cinematics, all the work that people did is in this game.
Yeah, and that's not to discount the people who
it's
updated it.
Exactly.
They also need credits.
But it's not like a new game based on that game. The work that they did originally at Retro Studios is wholesale in this game.
Yeah.
So they should absolutely be credited for it.
And it's kind of hard to make the argument. It's like, well, there was nobody at Retro we could talk to get. I'm like, I'm sure there was all sorts of people at Retro you could talk to get. You even probably could have gone to an old copy of the game and just
look at the game.
Get an intern to write down all the things and just be like, just use them again.
I don't know who did the remaster. Did Retro do it?
I don't know who did the remaster.
I don't know who did either.
Metroid Remaster was indeed done by Retro.
It was done by Retro.
Well,
that's even weirder.
Yeah.
I guess that's why he mentions that, like, the producer standing up for them. I guess no one who is at Retro now bothered to be like, hey, should we credit all those people that used to work here? Yeah.
I mean, it'd be an amazing thing if it was really just an oversight where somebody at Retro Studios is like, oh no.
Some people are on the some people, like the sound designer, I think, and maybe the composer, I can't remember. Some people did come back, or some people who worked on the original did work on this one, but not everybody.
And I mean, Jack Matthews even said, I would be like, it's like if they just released an original staff credits that was like accessible in a different way. Like you could go to the About menu, Options menu, Gallery menu, whatever. You could actually see the original staff credits by going there, and which I thought was very interesting because I'm like, oh, that's like having credits in the game, but they're not the end credits. They're just the other credits, right? It's like that kind of thing. And when I was reading the IGDA one sheet about how to do crediting for people, one of the things they say is credits should not be locked behind content, or they should not be like gated in any way. Credits should be something that that they can run in a reel at the end of the game,
right? But
that you should be at any time able to go into a menu and just watch the credit roll if you want.
I've seen that in some games too. Then like the options menu, there's like watch the credits.
Yeah, and I thought about that. I'm like, yeah, that seems to be a more common thing these days, and I like that. That's if that's going to be the new norm to say, and I'll be honest, right? I don't ever go look at the credits until the game is like over, until I'm done doing the thing, and then I sit there and I watch the credit roll go by generally.
I do watch the credits. I know that most people don't, and I get that, but for movies and stuff, I do watch the credits. And not because I'm waiting for a stinger.
Yeah. Half the time I'm doing it just because I want to see how many times a certain name comes up. Because you're like, there, oh, and there, oh, and there. It's like, oh, you were busy. Okay. You had lots to do.
In positive being credited for stuff news,
like to hear about that.
The Super Mario Brothers theme song, more properly called
Ground
Theme by Koji Kondo, has been added to the National Recording Registry in the U.S.
They
add like 25 songs a year There's 625 of them so far.
Yeah.
And this year, one of the 25 that they added was the Super Mario Brothers theme, which
Yeah,
is the first video game theme that they have added. The idea of this is it's U.S. It's a U.S. registry. It obviously doesn't have to be of United States origin.
Yeah.
Just that it needs to be culturally relevant in some way.
Yeah.
And then that they sort of like enshrine a physical recording. So if it's like, shoot, we lost all of our master tapes, there's no record anywhere of the Super Mario Brothers theme.
Yeah.
Luckily, the National Recording Registry has one saved.
Yeah, it's like the Svalbard Seed Archive.
Exactly. Yeah.
Except for music. I like that they got enshrined at the same time with All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Yep. All I Want for Christmas Is You, Like a Virgin, and Gasolina.
Which I've never heard before.
You've never heard Daddy Yankee's Gasolina?
I have not.
Oh, it was relevant for that genre. Reggaeton.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
It was from it's pretty recent, given the things. There were songs added in here from like 1908
Right.
up to. It has to be 10 years. There has to be a 10-year buffer before it can get in. But like the earliest mariachi recordings
Oh, cool.
that are called the name of the track is Mariachi Recording. Like it's that's how early this was, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Jimmy Buffett, the Eurythmics. Yeah, lots of stuff this year. It's very interesting because again, it's 25 songs,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Anything else that's outstanding?
Quarteto Coculense, quote, the very first mariachi recordings. That's the name of the track.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Sugarfoot Stomp, Wang Dang Doodle,
Wang Dang Doodle.
Deja Vu by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Stairway to Heaven,
Oh, cool.
John Lennon's Imagine, Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville, Eurythmics' Sweet Dreams.
I'm sitting here like hearing this. I'm like, wow, Super Mario Brothers theme is in good company. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, no, the whole point is that it's culturally important songs.
Mm-hmm.
So every list that they induct is going to be just a whole list of bangers.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Carl Sagan's Pale Blue Dot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All
Mario
right.
Brothers theme, Carl Sagan's Pale Blue Dot. These are the same picture. It's great. Anyway, there you go. It's
fun.
A positive note to end on. I assume we're ending now.
I guess we could mention the store stuff still.
Store.loadingreadyrun.com. Wait, when does that wrap up?
Let's do that.
3 days from now?
Yeah.
August? August? Oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, April.
Flash forward to the future.
Don't do that. April 16th.
April 16th is the end of the pre-order period for the Welcome Aboard collection on store.loadingreadyrun.com. If you want to buy the mission patches or the 20th Century Travel poster or the Penny Arcade pin or a bundle that has all of them plus a cool amenity kit with a first class ticket.
This might be the first you're hearing of it if you only watch Checkpoint, but we're moving.
Yeah, we're moving.
Moon bases. After we move, this shouldn't look too different.
Yeah.
If at all.
We'll see. Maybe we'll get funky and we'll really be like, no, we're gonna it's gonna be like it's gonna be like teal and purple. It's gonna be very Dixie Cup jazz.
Whoa. Oh. I've tried to make 90s ironic work and it's so tricky because it just looks bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Stay tuned.